I was hoping you could talk more about June 29th.
Well, June 29th, that was a call that was made by Phil. And he's shaky right now. I'll tell you, he's shaky. And I laughed and I punished him for what he said because I knew that he'd be shaky. And so when we were asked, questions about our campaign and our targets, and I'll repeat it, when people said, how is this legitimate? How can you choose these targets? And we kept saying, well, Phil says these are legitimate targets. Phil says the railways are good to go. And we kept repeating it, and it was something that resonated. And something that other communities took notice of. I think that everyone agrees that something needs to change, and that this is the time to make it change. Jim Prentice said, the Minister of Indian Affairs, these things pop up every 5 or 6 years. The Indians get pissed off, shit happens, and they go back to the way it was. This time around, Jim Prentice said, if this goes, and people go out and protest or demonstrate, we'll cut the funding to all the reserves. So what he's saying is that if we go out and ask for consideration on the grievances that we're bringing forward, he'll cut the funding to all of us. And so he's saying that unless we're prepared to continue, as we have, to suffer silently, then be prepared to have your miserable lives made worse. And I honestly believe that that campaign will be about as effective as CN's. Because right now, people are saying, fuck your money. Fuck it. We'll take what's ours. We'll take the land that's ours. We'll take the resources that's ours. We'll make those determinations for ourselves. When minerals are sold, when trees are cut, we'll make those determinations. Fuck your money.
Do you anticipate a lot of involvement from other First Nations communities or support that would, because many of them are still shy of government trust?
Well, in 1995, 2001 was the last time there was a little bit of an Indian flare-up. But previous to that was 1995. And prior to that going down, people might remember in Toronto there was a series of campaigns. There was Roger Obonsawin who was bringing issues forward on taxes. There was a lot of talk about the residential schools. Things were going. We came up from Tyendinaga and we closed a government building down on Adelaide Street. And after we left there, January 13th, we went down and we kicked the hell out of the RCMP in Ottawa in February. And then there was another action. And then what happened was there was a whole series of events that occurred. There was Gustafson Lake, the Department of Indian Affairs office went down, Ipperwash happened. All of these things came when people knew that there was a movement and a real understanding and that it was time. And that's happened again. In 2001, things got stopped because of the Twin Towers. But this year, since the summer of last year, since the last time the rail lines were shut down and Caledonia broke out, there's been a whole series of events that's culminated, and including the tracks most recently. And First Nations communities know that it's time. We know when it's time. And since the tracks happened, there's been 22 or 23 communities that have went out on the land. They went out there's an occupation right now of a hydro station in Manitoba. There's stuff going on in BC. The Manitoba Chiefs are calling for a shutdown on the railway. Shoal Lake is talking about a shutdown on the rail line. Grassy Narrows is talking. White Dog's talking. Pick Mulbert, Pick River. Ganasadage, Ganawage, Akwesasne, Tyendinaga. There's communities that are standing. And whether or not June 29th is legitimate to call a date that you start this, I don't agree with that. But for ourselves and for coordination, June 29th seems that it's going to be the day. And all those communities have stepped forward now, and there's been more things happening in 2006 and 2007 than there was in 1994 and 1995. And so we're at a period of time. They said story in Mohawk country is that if you didn't get ready after 1990, then you sure as hell got ready after 1995. And there ain't nobody that ain't ready right now, and people's sitting and people's waiting. I honestly believe that even if Phil Fontaine stuck to his story about strawberry socials, that it's completely out of his hands right now, because it's gone beyond that. And he's created that inspiration and that hope, and I think what makes me the saddest is that I really have an understanding of how standing up in the cause and giving direction for our youth, how effective that is in dealing with the issue of suicides on reserves. I know how effective that is, because it gives the direction and the pride and the hope for people. And money doesn't seem to do it, and taking our land doesn't seem to do it. Standing up and fighting on the lines and making that commitment and that sacrifice, it just seems to do it. And even if this year we get shot dead, and we're laying on highways and railways all over this country, our kids will benefit from that, even if it doesn't seem that there was benefit from it, because they'll stand and they'll take pride and they'll look at themselves in the mirror, and it won't be a question of whether you take your life, it'll be a question of how you conduct your life. And it gives options for people, options that we don't have. And it really means something.
Well, you kind of answered the question I had, was what benefit ultimately can you hope for to achieve? What would be the perfect solution? Are you going to get it?
I actually had somebody else on the list who wanted to ask a question, so
Oh, sorry.
you get one.